The stars above Erendor shimmered like scattered diamonds, painting the sky in colors no human palette could replicate. From the highest spires of the Crystal Palace, Princess Lyra gazed down at the city below, her long, graceful fingers tracing the curves of the balcony railing. Despite the splendor surrounding her, a quiet tension rested in her chest. Across the galaxy, many had whispered that she was impossible to please, and perhaps she was. Lyra was not like other Luriani. Her people were elegant, precise, and cautious. They prized intellect above emotion, logic over impulse. But Lyra, beautiful, sharp-minded, and unyielding, valued something else entirely: boldness, genuine courage, a spirit that could meet her challenge, not with ceremony or riches, but with honesty and strength. And for years, no one had succeeded. Noble suitors had arrived in fleets, each claiming they could win her hand. Some brought rare gems, others strange alien creatures or devices of great power. They bowed, they flattered, they tried to impress her with displays of wealth and skill. And yet, one by one, they failed. They were either too cautious, too clever for their own good, or simply unwilling to step into the unknown. Lyra had watched them all with cool eyes, her heart untouched. Her latest gathering was no different. The palace ballroom was alive with glittering lights, laughter, and music from instruments alien to human ears. Suitors from dozens of worlds moved through the room, each presenting their gifts and words, hoping to catch her favor. Lyra stood near the center, radiant yet distant, her eyes scanning the crowd with practiced scrutiny. The first failure of the evening was a Trelian merchant prince. He presented a small, glowing crystal that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. "It will resonate with your essence, Princess Lyra," he claimed, bowing with exaggerated grace. Lyra studied it for a moment, her expression unmoved. "And if my essence does not resonate with your crystal?" she asked, her voice smooth but sharp. The prince faltered and the crystal dimmed in response. He swallowed nervously, attempting to recover. Then perhaps I can adjust it." "I do not require adjustment," Lyra said simply. "I require truth." He stammered, then bowed once more, defeated. Another failure. She noted it silently, moving on to observe the next. One by one, the suitors tried and failed in ways that were sometimes pitiful, sometimes amusing. Some offered exotic foods that Lyra refused, saying they did not wish to taste gifts born of deceit or oppression. Others presented elaborate inventions, only for them to malfunction spectacularly under her gaze. By the end of the evening, she felt the familiar mix of amusement and impatience. Then he arrived. He was unlike any other. He did not glide into the ballroom with careful grace. He did not carry a gem or a mechanical wonder. He walked with a simple, confident stride, eyes wide with curiosity rather than arrogance. Ethan was human, and he came from a world many Luriani dismissed as primitive. Yet there was something in the way he held himself that caught Lyra's attention immediately. While other suitors sought to impress her with power or show, he seemed only to observe, taking in the surroundings with quiet fascination. When their eyes met, Lyra felt a strange stir, a flicker of interest she rarely allowed herself. He approached her, not with fear, not with grandiose bowing, but with a calm boldness that was foreign in her court. "Princess Lyra," he said, voice steady. "I have heard of your challenge, and I believe I am the one who can meet it," the crowd murmured. A human, bold. Many had dismissed the species as fragile, naive, or incapable of real courage. Yet here he was, speaking with a certainty that could not be feigned. Lyra's lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible smile. "You are confident," she said, her tone cool. "Most who come here are confident at first, and most leave in shame." "I am not most," Ethan replied. "I do not wish to impress you with wealth or cunning. I wish to meet your challenge honestly." A ripple ran through the crowd. The princess raised an eyebrow. "Honest," she repeated. "That is rare." And so their challenge began. Lyra devised a series of trials, each designed to test the qualities she valued most: intelligence, courage, and empathy. They were not simple tests. One required navigating a labyrinth filled with illusions that could confuse the mind and tempt the soul. Another demanded the solver to negotiate peace between two alien factions in conflict. Yet another, the most subtle, tested the ability to recognize and respect the feelings of others, even when their logic was alien and incomprehensible. Ethan approached each trial not with panic, not with fear, but with the human ingenuity that had allowed his people to thrive despite countless challenges. When faced with the labyrinth, he observed the patterns of shifting walls, noting the faint hums that revealed the correct path. Unlike the aliens, who relied on memory or analysis alone, he trusted his instincts and his ability to learn quickly, moving with calm precision. When tasked with diplomacy between warring factions, Ethan listened. He asked questions. He acknowledged grievances, even when the argument seemed strange or trivial. While alien diplomats often attempted to dominate through intellect or threat, he approached with honesty, humility, and clever solutions that no one had considered. And throughout it all, Lyra watched. Her sharp eyes noted the subtle differences between this human and every other being who had tried to win her favor. He did not boast. He did not manipulate. He acted boldly but thoughtfully. By the time the final trial came, Ethan had begun to earn not only her attention but her genuine respect. The last challenge was the most personal, a test of empathy. Lyra presented him with a situation where an alien child had been injured during a ceremony. The human suitors had long been ruled out, as they had no understanding of Luriani customs. Ethan knelt beside the child, speaking softly, calming their fears with words that were gentle but sincere. He followed the protocols Lyra observed without hesitation, but he also added a human touch, an intuitive comfort that no Luriani method could provide. Lyra observed, heart quietly stirred. For the first time in many cycles, she felt a thrill of surprise. She had seen cleverness, wealth, and skill, but never genuine courage coupled with compassion. When Ethan stood and faced her, Lyra spoke with unusual warmth. "You have passed each trial in ways no one else has. You are unlike any suitor I have ever known." Ethan bowed, a subtle gesture of respect rather than submission. "Then the question remains, Princess. Are you willing to consider that someone from another world might meet the boldness you seek?" Lyra paused. The room seemed to hold its breath. She had always believed her challenge was impossible. Yet here was a human man, embodying everything she had hoped to find: courage, honesty, empathy, and a spark of audacity that could not be taught. "You have succeeded," she said finally, voice calm but resonant. "But success in trials does not always equal readiness for the next step. Are you prepared for the consequences of such boldness?" Ethan met her gaze steadily. "I am." For the first time, Lyra allowed herself a faint smile. Perhaps, she thought, this human was truly different. Perhaps he could walk paths no Luriani had dared, bridge worlds that seemed impossible to connect. And so, the first part of their journey ended, not with a declaration of marriage, but with the undeniable spark of something extraordinary. The court buzzed with whispers and speculation. Humans were unpredictable, some said, dangerous, some warned. But in that moment, the princess herself could not deny it. Ethan had shown a kind of courage and heart that no alien suitor had ever displayed. As the stars above Urindor continued to shimmer, Lyra turned her gaze back to the horizon. Something had changed. The impossible challenge she had set, the one that had kept her heart untouched for so long, now seemed achievable. And she knew, deep inside, that this human might be the one brave enough to take the step no one else ever had. But even as she considered this, she felt the familiar tension of uncertainty. Could a human truly survive the intricacies of Luriani life? Could boldness alone bridge the gap between their worlds? Only time would tell. And so, with curiosity and cautious hope mingling in her heart, Princess Lyra awaited the next chapter of their story. the chapter that could change not only her life, but perhaps the view of humanity across the galaxy. The morning sun glinted over Erendor's crystal towers, casting rainbows across the palace gardens. Princess Lyra walked among the delicate flowers, her thoughts still occupied by the human who had so boldly passed her impossible trials. Ethan's courage, his honesty, and his unexpected insight lingered in her mind like a melody she could not forget. Ethan, meanwhile, was exploring the palace halls, not as a guest, but as someone genuinely curious about the people and customs around him. He had never encountered a society so precise, so formal, and yet so full of beauty and complexity. The Luriani were meticulous, their traditions woven into every action, every word. Most visitors found this stifling, but Ethan found it fascinating. He took careful notes, not for study or praise, but to understand their way of life fully. Lyra watched him from a distance, hidden behind the tall archways of the garden. He was different from all the other suitors she had seen. He was not trying to impress, not attempting to manipulate, not focused on winning her favor by grand gestures. He was simply human, and in that simplicity he shone. The next trial, Lyra decided, would test more than courage or intelligence. It would test how he responded under pressure, in a situation that demanded quick thinking and moral strength. An urgent message arrived from the palace council. A neighboring system was on the brink of conflict, and a delegation of Luriani negotiators had been trapped in a dangerous situation. The usual diplomatic teams were too cautious to act immediately. Lyra turned to Ethan. "This will not be a trial with instructions or rules. It is real, and the outcome may affect many lives. Are you ready to step forward?" Ethan nodded. "I am." Within moments, he found himself aboard a sleek transport shuttle, moving at high speed toward the conflict zone. The delegation's shuttle had been damaged in an ambush, and the surrounding factions were tense and suspicious. Humans were unknown in these parts, often underestimated. But Ethan had something no alien diplomat could claim: adaptability and fearless honesty. He approached the delegation with calm authority. He listened to the grievances of each side, spoke plainly about what he had observed, and offered solutions grounded in fairness. He did not rely on tradition alone. He combined his observations, human logic, and intuition. Slowly, the tension eased. The factions began to trust him, not because he had power, not because he represented wealth, but because he had shown respect and clarity in the face of chaos. Back at the palace, Lyra monitored the situation. She felt a mix of pride and disbelief. Time after time, she had seen humans falter in complex situations, yet here was one handling what many trained diplomats had failed to resolve. She realized that bravery alone was not enough. True boldness required wisdom, and Ethan had both. The mission concluded successfully. The Luriani delegation was safe, and the factions had agreed to a temporary truce. Ethan returned to the palace, his expression calm, though his mind was alive with the experience. Lyra greeted him in the main hall. "You have done what many thought impossible," she said quietly. "You have acted boldly, wisely, and with compassion. You have changed my perception of what humans can be." Ethan smiled. "I only did what I thought was right. I did not seek glory, only understanding and action." Lyra studied him. Her heart felt lighter, yet more cautious. "And now," she asked, "you have passed the trials, faced real danger, and still stand before me. Are you ready for the next step?" He took a step closer, meeting her gaze directly. "If the next step is with you, Princess, then yes, I am ready," the palace courtiers murmured. This was a turning point none had expected. Aliens had tried for centuries to meet Lyra's standards. None had succeeded in demonstrating courage, wisdom, and empathy in such harmony. And now a human had not only met them but exceeded expectations. However, the path forward was not simple. Many among the council and noble families viewed humans with suspicion. They whispered that a union could disrupt the balance of power, that a species so unpredictable might bring disaster. Lyra faced a choice: obey tradition or follow the boldness she admired. She turned to Ethan, who, sensing the tension, offered her a reassuring smile. "Whatever you decide, I will respect it. I am not here to force or demand. I wish only to be your partner if you wish it." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she realized that boldness was not just about daring acts or facing danger. It was about integrity, patience, and respect. Ethan had shown all of these in abundance. The next days were filled with preparations for a formal audience, where Lyra would announce her decision. Visitors from across the galaxy gathered, curious to witness whether a human could truly win the hand of the Luriani princess. The palace buzzed with energy, and even the stars seemed to shine brighter over Urindor. During this time, Ethan immersed himself in Luriani culture, learning their language more fully, understanding the subtle gestures and traditions, and showing a willingness to adapt without losing his own identity. He did not change who he was. Instead, he complemented the world around him, bridging the gap between species with sincerity and courage. Lyra observed all of this quietly. Each interaction, each choice he made, reinforced her admiration. She realized that her challenge had never been about wealth, power, or even intelligence. It had been about finding someone with a bold heart capable of navigating the complexities of life with honor and courage. Finally, the day arrived. The palace's grand hall was filled with dignitaries, ambassadors, and curious citizens. Lyra stood at the center, her eyes fixed on Ethan. He approached her calmly, respectful of her presence, aware of the weight of the moment. "I have watched you," Lyra began, voice clear and resonant. "I have seen your courage, your wisdom, and your compassion. I have seen how you face challenges with honesty and integrity. You are unlike any being I have known." Ethan bowed slightly. "And I have learned from you, princess, from your people, from your wisdom and your courage. I stand before you not to impress, but to offer myself honestly." Lyra's gaze softened. She felt the eyes of the entire assembly upon them, yet all that mattered was the human before her. "You have shown me that boldness is not only about action but about heart. It is not enough to be clever or strong. You must also be wise, compassionate, and true." Ethan met her gaze steadily. "Then I offer all of that, princess. If you will have me as your partner, I will stand beside you not just in ceremony, but in life, in challenge, and in hope." A hush fell over the hall. Even the most skeptical nobles could not deny the truth of her words or the sincerity of his. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling a rare lightness in her chest. "Then it is done," she said softly. "I accept you, Ethan of Earth, as my partner." The assembly erupted into cheers, yet Lyra and Ethan shared a quiet, meaningful glance. They had crossed worlds, defied expectations, and proved that courage, honesty, and empathy were qualities that transcended species. The celebrations were magnificent. Aliens from distant systems marveled at the human who had dared, the human who had shown the galaxy that boldness could take many forms. Ethan did not seek fame, yet he inspired respect. And Lyra, finally able to relax, found that her heart had chosen well. In the days that followed, Ethan learned more about Luriani life than any other human had. He learned their history, their values, their challenges. Yet at the same time, he taught them about humanity, about creativity, resilience, and the strength that comes from compassion. Together, they began to bridge worlds, showing that understanding and courage could overcome centuries of separation and suspicion. Lyra often watched Ethan interacting with her people, laughing with children, debating strategies with council members, and offering solutions that were both simple and profound. She realized that boldness was more than daring. It was the ability to see opportunity where others saw risk, to act with integrity where others acted with fear, and to inspire others through action and heart. Their partnership became a symbol across the galaxy. Humans were no longer seen merely as curious outsiders. They were respected as beings capable of courage, wisdom, and kindness. And in the heart of Urindor, a human and a Luriani princess walked together, demonstrating that when boldness met honesty, the results could change not just a life, but a civilization. As the sun set over the crystal towers, casting a golden glow across the palace, Lyra and Ethan stood together on the balcony. The city below hummed with life. The stars above promised countless adventures, and the galaxy beyond awaited the story of the human who dared, and the princess who believed. In that quiet moment, Lyra understood something she had never fully realized. Courage, integrity, and heart were the most valuable treasures in any world. And now, she had found them in the most unexpected place, within a human who had taken the boldest step of all. The galaxy would remember this day, not for wealth, power, or conquest, but for the boldness of one human man and the wisdom of a princess who dared to see beyond expectations. And thus, their story had only just begun.